You need to do 3 things before you can use the Emotimo TB3 with GBTimelapse. First, install the Emotimo TB3 driver on your computer. Second, install the GBTimelapse firmware on the Emotimo TB3. And third, configure the GBTimelapse options to use the TB3. These steps need only be performed once on your computer. Step 1. Installing the Emotimo TB3 driver. The TB3 driver must be installed on your computer to allow the TB3 to connect with the Windows operating system. Connect the TB3 to your computer with a USB cable. The TB3 display will energize and its internal firmware will display a message on its small screen. To install the driver, open your Windows control panel and select Administrative Tools. Select Computer Management, then select Device Manager. You will see the Arduino Uno listed under Other Devices. Arduino is the name of the processor inside the Emotimo TB3. Right-click on Arduino Uno and select Update Driver Software. Click on Browse My Computer for driver software. Use the Browse button to find the folder Program Files Granite-based Software GBTimelapse EOS. Then click Next. Although the driver has no certificate, click Install the driver software anyway. Windows will load and install the driver, and the Device Manager will list the TB3 under Ports, COM and LPT. It will assign a port number. In this case, it's COM10. Make a note of this COM port number. You will need it when installing the TB3 firmware and when connecting to GBTimelapse. Step 2. Install the GBTimelapse firmware on the TB3. Special firmware must be installed on the TB3 to allow communication with GBTimelapse. Run the GB Upload firmware program from your computer's Program Files folder. Select the firmware to upload by clicking on GBTimelapse for Emotimo TB3. If you want to restore the standard TB3 firmware instead, click Standard Emotimo TB3. Choose the COM port that matches the value you noted when installing the TB3 Windows driver, in this case COM10. Leave the baud rate unchanged. Click the Upload button. After a short delay, the text box at the bottom of the window will fill with text. Scroll down to the last line. If the upload worked, it should say, "Thank you." Now the TB3 display shows the version number of the GBTimelapse firmware. Step 3. Configure the GBTimelapse options. The first time you use GBTimelapse with the TB3, you must configure the options to enable pan tilt control and specify which COM port to use. Run GBTimelapse and select the Tools Options menu item. Then click the Features tab. Click the question mark to the right of the words Show Pan Tilt Control Interface. Click the Yes button to confirm that you are using the Emotimo TB3. Check the box Show Pan Tilt Control Interface. Close and reopen the Tools Options dialog window. This will show the Pan Tilt tab in the Camera Settings panel of the main screen. Select the new tab named Pan Tilt and check the box named Enable Pan Tilt Control. Select the COM port for your connection and set the baud rate to 9600. Click the Open button to open the connection to the TB3. After opening, the Test and Settings panels are enabled so that you can configure and test the TB3 settings. The USB cable supplies power to the TB3 processor, but a battery or other power supply is needed to move the pan tilt axes. The Settings panel has controls for the pan tilt speed, the holding power, and the direction of movement. The Test panel has buttons to test the pan tilt movement. I'll step left twice and right 3 times, then up twice and down once. When the TB3 is first powered up it doesn't know which way it's pointing. Calibrating lets you move it to 0 degrees pan and tilt with the joystick. To use joystick calibration, click Yes. If you have already moved it to 0 degrees pan and tilt, just click No. I'll click Yes and use the joystick to move it to 0 degrees pan and tilt. Now that it's configured, I can set up a pan tilt program. I'll pan to the left to -60 degrees and up to 14 degrees and set the start position. Then right to 37 degrees and down to -6 degrees and set the end position. I'll go to the start position and then to the end position. Then back to the home or 0 degrees position. The start and end positions are saved in the project file, so I could repeat this exact movement again. Those were the 3 steps required to set up GBTimelapse in the Emotimo TB3. All the settings are saved, so you only need to do this once. Please watch my other videos showing the TB3 in action.